It has been one hell of a season. Despite the ground effect cars saying we shouldn't see any good racing, this season still had its many moments up and down the field. You had the back markers, or just Alpine really, being the Shadow Realm, which only made their one-off performances sweeter. You had the lower midfield like Haas and Sauber dueling it over scraps, which, yes, was cinema every single time. You had the midfield like Aston just playing around wherever they wanted. They could be back markers, they could be midfielders, or front runners. Who knows, but they could be all things good and bad. And then you had the upper midfield like Williams, sometimes being a thorn in the sides of the front runners. Case in point, Ferrari, since you had them either getting podiums or another appointment with a therapist. Mercedes were also there sometimes. Moving on, and of course, McLaren and Max Verstappen F1 team were the real stars since they gave us a three-way fight for the title. Again, while the racing was bad, at least the storyline was fun to follow, and now it has ended. We are on the brink of entering a new period of F1, so let us see how the drivers did one last time in this ground effect era. Also, in line with me changing my rankings in each new ranking video, we're doing 1 through 10s this year, so no tier list. Anyways, that's about it. Go join the Discord to interact with the community and subscribe if you're new to avoid eternal damnation. So enough yapping, and let's get to quacking.
A good weather for a race, but especially for a dog.
Let's just get straight into our driver ratings. I sent out a Google form asking you lot to score the drivers, and along with my score that I give, we'll show the average from yours as well for each single driver. So with that, let's go from worst to best, and the worst driver this year, in my opinion, is of course Jack Doohan. I give him a score of a solid 2 because he wasn't the worst guy ever. Yeah, he crashed in Australia and a Japan FP2, but his pace wasn't that bad. He was slow, but he wasn't a De Vries, Sargent, or Latifi slow. He was just out of his league in my opinion. Could he have improved had he been kept? Probably, but he was still getting washed out by Gasly either way, so perhaps it just didn't matter to Alpine. And as for your score, we think alike it seems, since the average score for him from you guys was a 2.4. So moving into the actual top 20 now, aka the actual worst full-time driver this year, and I'm sorry, it's Colapinto. Now, he's actually hard to judge since, as we know, that Alpine car was hot garbage this year. They abandoned that car probably as soon as it hit the track in Australia, but regardless, Gasly was still obviously trying and being good, while Colapinto, I don't know. He wasn't bad, but he was also so boring and slow that he just didn't matter. Yeah, he did have a span of races where he was faster than Gasly, and perhaps that is more representative, but it wasn't for the entire season. Regardless, he didn't crash as much as Jack or at all this year, and was kind of just forgotten about. He gets a 3 from me. And again, we're on the same wavelength since Colapinto is also your 20th pick for driver ratings with a score of a 3.2. I don't think there's much to elaborate on, so moving into our 19th pick, and I have Yuki here. I mean, my God. I know the Red Bull car is a terrible car to drive, but it reaches to a point, you know. I mean, Max was on the verge of winning it all this year, and imagine the scenes of Max P1 in the standings and Yuki P17 in the standings. That's just not right. Even if you had a car working against you, it's just not acceptable. But if it's any consolation, he did show pace sometimes, most notably Baku, Vegas, and Qatar. But brother, that is an 8th of the season. It's just not good. So I give him a 3.5 for everything I just mentioned. However, you guys are coming off of my wave now. You guys give him a 4.1, which is actually your 18th best, with your 19th best being Lance Stroll with a 3.8 rating. To be honest, I am mad since I ranked them the same this year, so you get a pass for this one. And speaking of Stroll, my 18th pick is Lance Stroll, who I actually thought didn't do too bad. He wasn't crashing as often or just being a dick. He showed up, drove, and left. That's why all year long I kept saying he was nowhere doing nothing, because he literally was. He was in bumfuck 15th, 8 seconds ahead of 16th, and 10 seconds back from 14th. He did show some good pace here and there, like in Abu Dhabi or Australia, but for the most part, he just drove, man. So I give him the same rating as Yuki with a 3.5, and your 18th best was again Yuki with a 4.1. So moving on, and for 17th best, I have Esti Bestie for no reason at all, because realistically, he didn't do bad. More often than not, he got fucked over by the team, which has strategy, I know, but post Steiner, they haven't been too bad. Behrman wasn't nearly as compromised as Ocon this year, which is not me insinuating anything. Instead, Esteban just truly never got his time to shine. He clearly still has the drive to perform, so I guess it's whether or not the team can support him. However, he is this low for another reason though, and that's because his one-lap pace this year was shockingly bad. Sure, the team didn't help him much this year, but he certainly didn't do much for himself yourself either. I mean, you can't exactly race good if you're down in 18th, right? So Esteban, you get a 4.5 from me, and when it comes to your 17th best pick, watch your fucking back, traders. You guys put Lewis here with a 4.4, as if the fucking irony wasn't already hurtful enough. How do you guys give him a 4? I mean, he ain't further up my list either, but a 4? Save it. My 16th pick is where it gets rough though. Every driver until like the top 6 or 7 is so unbelievably close to each other, so cut me some slack. So for 16th, I have Pierre Gasly, who wasn't bad this year. He was actually mid. He outperformed the ever-living shit out of the Alpine this year. That is undeniable. However, he did get into an accident here and there this year, and more often than not, it was kind of his fault. So while fast, yes, he was also very sloppy, which puts him lower for me. I mean, if I drove the Alpine, I imagine I would try to kill as many people with it as well, but he's an F1 driver. You gotta be better. So I give him a nice 5, being literally mid, while you guys round out the doomed Yowie with your 16th pick, Esteban Ocon, with an average score of a 4.9. 15th, and now I have Lewis Hamilton, who, man, I was so hopeful this year. Fuck you, Ethan, it's your fault. Lewis, I imagine I'm rating higher than most because truthfully, I don't think he performed bad. When he was crashing this year, yes, it was his fault, but Lewis did show glimpses of godly pace still. He obviously still has the facilities to still win and be good, but the SF25 was so horrible that it just muzzled him. Plus, it was always going to be tough performing after 12 years at Mercedes, so I would give Lewis a disappointing 5.5 for his worst season ever in F1, and your 15th pick would be very interesting indeed, since you guys chose Liam Lawson with a 5.3 average. We will come back to this. My 14th pick, however, is Gabby Bortoleto, which I feel may be a bit controversial. Now, despite Gabby being the worst performing full new rookie according to me, he still had a massively impressive season. He showed some top-notch pace and racecraft, and truly, it was great by him. So why is he ranked lowest of them all? Well, that's because despite his good race ability, he leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to his awareness. Now, obviously, you can't race good if you aren't aware, but Gabby takes a risk here and there, and 9 times out of 10, he fucked that car up. Either that, or he failed and continued to stay behind thanks to wasted tire life. His racing IQ still has a long way to go, but considering who his mentor is, I'm sure next year will be an astronomical step forward. So for his first season, Gabby gets a 6 from me, and your 14th best pick would be Gasly finally with an average of a 5.8. So 13th, and I have Liam Lawson finally, who, can I just say, you guys are biased. I mean, a 5.3 isn't bad, but guys, he was much better than a 5. Now, yes, those first 2 to 5 races were abysmal dog shit from him, but since then, I would argue Liam has been on par, if not averagely better and faster than Isaac. Yes, Isaac won the head-to-head still, but Liam, he was only like a place or 2 behind, so I don't get ranking Isaac like a 7 or 8, and Liam a mere 5. Yes, Liam liked his crash here and there, but to me, that's bloody good racing. They were never full-on DNFs, and the idea of liking Max's race ability and hating Liam's is like loving burgers from Carl's Jr. but hating Hardy's burgers. So fuck you. Liam gets a 6 from me. Take it up with my secretary if you have a problem. Your 13th best pick though would be Gabby Bortoleto, so maybe me putting him in 14th wasn't that bad. So moving on to 12th, and for here, I would have Nico Hülkenberg. Now before you put me to the stake, get it? Yes, his podium was bloody brilliant. 19th to 3rd is just so good, and I loved it just as much, if not more than everybody else. However, he would only have like 6 or 7 more good performances, which yes, is still very good, but is kind of overshadowed by many others. So while he still had his good performance here and there, he is starting to show glimpses of age creeping in, and I wouldn't be surprised if for next year, barring any sudden performance change, Nico is out of a seat and gone for good. So I give Nico a nice 6.5, while your guys' 12th pick would be Alex Albon. Not gonna sugarcoat it, you guys are absolutely mental for thinking that, but like with Liam, we will come back to this. So now for 11th, and I have Carlos Sainz. Yes, I am declaring Williams war with you all. Carlos would have such a shit start to the year. He crashed, his car broke down, I mean, it was rough. And even in other races, his standards weren't exactly the best. I mean, he looked like an alien. However, post-summer break, and what the fuck? Carlos is on the podium? He's contested for like P6 in qualifying? He's on the podium again? What is going on? That post-summer break form deadass saved his season from being an all-timer stinker, and I guess it's linked to some recency bias, but we will come back. Regardless, he still did great, so I give him a nice 7, while your 11th pick would be Nico with a 7.1. So now for the top 10 best drivers this year, and in 10th, I have Alex Albon. Now his beginning form in the season was so out of this world good. He was cooking up the field at master classes that sound like P5, 4, or 6. It was so damn good, and even when Williams started to fall off, Alex still outdrove the car. But post Baku, and I don't know if it's like last year, but his form just fell off the steepest cliff in the world. He was still able to find some performance at some tracks, but for the most part, he just didn't have the pace anymore. He wasn't crashing, which was good, but he just lacked so much in pace and it plummeted his overall score for me. So I'll give him the same score as Sainz with a 7. And as for your 10th best pick, you guys went with Ollie Behrman with an average score of 7.2. And hey, he's also my 9th pick for best driver. Ollie from round 1 to 24 has been good. Sure, he maybe hasn't had the highs of other drivers, but what he had was consistency. If there was a crash or some failure in the race, Ollie was rarely at the scene of it. He always kept his head down, and when chaos did happen, guess who was there to take the space? Plus, even then, Ollie has had ultra quick pace at times where Ocon drowned in Dookie, which is just 1% of his power. As a Behrman truther since 2021, Ollie has such a reserve of talent. All we could pray for is a top team use it to their best ability. Just not Ferrari, please. Ollie gets an awesome 7 from me, with your 9th best pick being Alonso with a 7.3. And hey, would you look at that? My 8th best pick is Alonso, who just had another season. Every year since 2023, regardless of actual results, has been the same from Alonso. He overperforms the car, he puts in consistent laps, he keeps his head down in school so he can. It is clear he is reaching the end of the road in his career, but at least barring any CTE, could end his career with a bang. So I really don't got much to say, since sure, his beginning part of the season was a little iffy, but it's nothing too dramatic. So he gets another 7 from me, with your 8th best pick being Kimi Antonelli with a 7.4 rating. God, you guys love giving me alley-oops. It's my 7th pick is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. As the biggest Antonelli glazer on the planet, yes, I know, I hate to mention it every single time too, Kimi had a rough season. His beginning races were great, even taking pole at Miami and a podium at Canada. However, the moment we stepped foot in Europe, all his pace fell off a cliff. He became really bad and people were saying things like he's going to be another failed prospect, but I always knew they would eat their words, and munch on them they did. Baku onward saw a different Antonelli. He started to not only be on par with Russell, but outperform as well on merit, and Kimi was taking more podiums now. And would you believe me if I said that is not everything he has? Once Kimi gets all the nourishment he needs from Big Daddy Wolf, watch, just watch. The Kimi Antonelli era will soon be upon us. He gets a 7.5 from me, while your 7th best pick with an average score of 7.6 would be, let me see, Charles Leclerc. You put fucking Hadjar and Sainz over Leclerc, you idiots. What is wrong with you? Calm down, Doug. My 6th best pick for this year is also Rookie of the Year, Isaac Hadjar. To no one's surprise, Hadjar is my Rookie of the Year, as well as everybody's, I'd imagine, which actually is a surprise if we think back to 2024. Everyone saw Isaac as the desperate hire for Red Bull, and everybody thought he would sink hard, and Australia would be evidence since he crashed on lap 0 and it looked like it was going to be a very tough year. But then he outperforms Yuki in China, and for literally every race until Abu Dhabi, he would be such a shining star. Okay, maybe not literally every race since there were some races where he sucked, but for a good 80% of the year, he was hauling in points and even slapped his dick on the podium in Zandvoort. And I know everybody's doom posting about Red Bull next year, and I low-key believe that he will suffer the same fate as many others, but at least this year was good. So he gets an 8 from me. Since we're a rookie, this was just class. Your 6th pick would also be the same to me with Isaac and an average score of a 7.8. Now for the top 5 best drivers this year, and unfortunately, I have Oscar Piastri here. Oscar had such a great start to the season, and despite him maybe not being as fast as he should be or benefiting a lot from Lando's bottles, Oscar still kept his head down and drove the very best he could. He was set for that title, 34 points in the lead, but alas, we know what happened. Post Monza, his pace just plummeted and his racecraft even got super bad. It was indefensibly bad from Oscar, and despite recovering in the last 2 rounds, it was too little too late. This one is simple really, since who knows where he goes from here. I would like to think up, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's only down. So he gets a flat 8 from me, and here's to a much better 2026. Your 5th pick though is just, guys, really, Sainz as the 5th best driver this year? Talk about recency bias, am I right? Anyways, 4th best pick, and I have Charles Leclerc here. Charles this year is so hard to judge. Was his bad performances this year due to him or the car? Because in Hungary, pole to P4 looks abysmal, but then you watch it and you're like, oh my god, burn Ferrari to the ground. But then you have a race like Qatar and it's strange he didn't do better. I don't know, it's tough to call, but one thing he was again utterly brilliant. chance. The car had an issue in like every single nut and bolt on it, but Charles always did the maximum and more. What can I say, man? He deserves a perfect car, and it's a shame that this new post-2022 Charles just hasn't had the chance. Charles gets an 8.5 from me, and here's to a much better 2026 again. Your fourth pick, however, would be George Russell with an 8.2, which I find very interesting. However, we have to wait for my thoughts since now we have the top 3 drivers this year, and I have our champion, Lando Norris. Now, this is not a disservice to him. He had a great season, likely his best in his career, because even when he was bottling in the early part of the year, he found himself on the podium by the end of the weekend, which is not as easy as it seems, even in the fastest car. Look at Oscar, for example. Lando did the best he could, and after some internal and external changes between weekends, Lando found himself more confident in his ability. He started to outright drop the bottles and start setting fast lap after fast lap, and it all culminated in his maiden title. Say what you want, but he is a 100% deserving champion, since many would like you to believe this guy's a bumbling toddler in the car. So despite his early negatives, they were nowhere near as bad as Oscar's or some other drivers, which leads me into giving him a 9 this year, and let's see how many more titles Lando could possibly get. However, your third best driver this year is actually just ludicrous, since you guys also have Lando with an 8.4 rating, but that means someone not named George or Charles is in second, because your second best pick of the year was Oscar Piastri with an 8.5 average score. Right, least biased Lando take in 2025 right here. But moving past you guys, my second best pick this year is George Russell, since literally, what more can he do? He can overperform the car by 5/10, and people will say he never has to overtake. He could go from P10 to P3 in the race, and it's does nothing P3 from the people. He could do something like being on pole by 100th and marginally win that race after a close battle, and people would say he doesn't overperform the car. He can overperform the car by 5/10, and you see where this is going. George has held up to some odd high standard, which is just weird to me. George is easily the best British driver on the grid, as of not this year, but last year. However, some guys would have you believe he is just here for British bias reasons. He won everything he possibly could have, and somehow it's still not enough. Even when Mercedes this year barely changed at all from last year, that didn't stop George from finishing 4th in the drivers this year with 2 wins and always in the business of the top 3. All George needs is a competitive Mercedes car every weekend, and watch, the title will be light work for him. So George gets a flat 9 from me, with your second best being Piastri with an 8.5 like we discussed earlier, which of course leads us on the same road. The best driver this year, according to us both, is unsurprisingly Max Verstappen. I'm not going to touch on this much since we know why he was the best this year. He is just inevitable, man. Give him a car that can sniff 3rd and he will win that race. He's just too overpowered. The only man that can truly stop him is really himself, since here's some rage bait I believe in. Max himself is a big reason why he wasn't champion. He made some costly mistakes in Bahrain, Spa, and of course, Spain and Silverstone. Yes, he had bad luck too with the VSC in Mexico and DNF in Austria, but had Max not made any mistakes in the previously mentioned races like he did in prior seasons, he would have been champion. Still though, the fact that through the mistakes he was only like 2 points away from the title just goes to show the demon that is Max Verstappen. He gets a 9.5 from me, with you guys going higher and giving him a 9.6. But now for our special awards, with the most prestige one being the Duck Door. So firstly, our most likely to get fired next year award honestly has to go to Nico Hülkenberg, since with age rising and F2 talent being the best it's been in a while, I imagine Audi wants to secure the long term, and Nico is not long term anymore. So sorry buddy, you're fired for next year. Best Sandcastles award has to go to Yuki, because what else was he supposed to do? Drive on the track? Nah. The biggest bottle of the year has to go to Oscar Piastri in Baku, since that single-handedly brought everybody back into contention. Nice going, son. Highest therapy tab obviously has to go to the entire Ferrari team, bar John Elkann, because everyone needs to vent from his bullshit. And finally, the elusive Duck Door of 2025 is between Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, or George Russell, and our winner is Donald Trump for promoting so much peace in the Middle East and South America. Donald Trump loves me, and I love Donald Trump. So those were my driver ratings from this year. Overall, I did enjoy this season, but man, I need racing to be good again. Imagine how peak this year would have been if we had cars that could race each other effectively and efficiently. Oh well, here's a 2026, and if the racing is still bad, well, get ready for Moto Duck or Indie Duck. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support. Make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what your ratings are. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.